Senator Akshar, what is your viewpoint on protecting the life of the unborn? Are you pro-life? And how has this affected your voting on legislation?
I'm a pro-life candidate. I've always said that from the beginning. I haven't had to take a vote based on my beliefs, but that's the way I'm going to vote in the future should an issue regarding abortion come up. It's that simple. You okay with that answer?
Up to you. It's your 2 minutes. You can use as little as you like.
No,
so
I mean,
if you're good with it, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I feel very strongly about that.
Specific things do you propose to decrease government spending?
It's a very good question. If you look at the budget, it's about a third Medicaid, and so it's interesting looking at how the thing is divvied up. I've looked at it in my research. I'm not elected yet, so I haven't had to actually make the hard decisions, but they will come. But what I want to emphasize is that it can be done. We have to believe that we can do governance in New York better and that we can do it cheaper. We have to believe that. Because if we don't, we just have to pack up shop and New York will just stay going the socialist way it's going, and then young families will keep moving away. The last time that happened that I came across was today. I'm an attorney. I also do real estate, so at a closing, and the husband's now in Florida, and there you go. So I cannot tell you what 3 specific things I would cut or how I would trim, but it has to be done, and we cannot shirk that responsibility any longer, I feel. If you look across our country also, you'll see that there are states that run a lot more efficiently. I mean, we spend the most per pupil of all the 50 states for education. And what is the quality of our education? Okay, so where does the money go? Where does it go? Right. So maybe the first thing then would be figuring out where the money is going, it's going, and then stopping that. How about that? So, thank you.
The next question is for Assemblywoman Lupardo. What are the 3 most important issues you want to work on in 2017 if re-elected?
Thanks for asking that question. I pretty much alluded to it already in my earlier remarks, but I'm pretty convinced that without substantial investment in infrastructure, not everybody likes to talk about wastewater treatment and sewage treatment and landfills, and I mean, it's not sexy, I suppose. But I look around this community, we're not going to be able to grow if we have wastewater that's not able to match our needs. I mean, I know right now, we're trying to encourage people to do more kayaking on the river, for example. With that one facility offline the way it is, we're trying to divert people from even canoeing in those stretches because of the discharge that's going into the river. So infrastructure is just absolutely primary to me. I mean, we've driven some additional resources for water treatment and other facilities. It's a fraction of what we need. You'd be shocked at how long we have neglected these basic systems, and now you're seeing problems from Hoosick Falls all across the state with water contamination issues. So infrastructure is absolutely primary. The other thing is to make sure every one of our economic dollars is well spent and we get a good return, and that the southern tier gets its due. I mean, I do think that some areas have been more vocal, and honestly there's been some cash flow problems, but in our area a little bit goes a very, very long way. Also, as the chair of the Children and Families Committee, we've got a big crisis in childcare in our communities. I mean, many of us may be more familiar with dealing with grandchildren right now, but you know the problems that your children are facing with finding care for their children, and it's my responsibility as chair of that committee to make sure that those slots are available and that they're affordable for our children, along with after school as well. They're so vulnerable right now in our community, and we need to give them every potential leg up. So I'm dealing with human service concerns, infrastructure, pollution, and of course economic development. Thanks.
The next question is for Jason Garnar. If elected, what do you think are 2 things you could do right away that would bring jobs back?
I've often said that, again, I'm not going to wave a magic wand and bring 6,000 jobs here. If a politician could do that, they would have already done it. And the two ways I think we can work, the first thing is we need to have communication with our local businesses. One of the things that I propose is I would love to be able to sit down with all of our businesses maybe every 2 or 3 months and have a real conversation about what is the county doing or not doing to just help you get by. I've also talked about having a conversation with our local businesses and saying, okay, let's go through every single regulation that Broome County has right now and say, okay, is this something that, is this a 80-year-old regulation that is tying you up and is preventing you from expanding? And if it is, and we don't really need it, there's no reason to have it, let's get rid of it. But we really, I mean, it's cliche, but I think we really have to cut red tape here as much as we can. The second thing I think we can do is, on the legislature, it pains me to see when we get resolutions brought to us for contracts, and I would see a contract where we awarded a contract to develop our website to a company that's outside of Broome County. We're spending Broome County taxpayer dollars on a company that's not in Broome County, not employing people from Broome County. Same thing with marketing for trails. We saw that this year. We're going to put up a big solar panel installation, a 20-acre solar panel installation, and it's going to Solar City. Has everybody heard of that company before? It's not local and has some serious problems with it. And as a legislature, I couldn't do anything except vote yes or no on these things. So when they got down to us, you know, we were kind of hamstrung with voting yes or no. But as a county executive, you better believe that when we go out and look at bids and do bid procurement, we're going to make sure that everybody in our community knows that we're putting out a contract and a bid, and we're going to do everything we can to keep those jobs local. Thank you.
Question is for Claudia Tenney. What is your stand on the gap in Social Security?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, the question, I'm just reading it verbatim. What is your stand on the gap in Social Security?
I'm not sure exactly what they're driving at. Is that referring to the fact that we are going down a path to Social Security becoming bankrupt in a number of years?
That's how I understood the question.
Okay. I will say this. My parents were both hardworking people who relied on Social Security, and Social Security, though it's looked at as an entitlement program, in my view, it's not. It's something you earn. When you go to work, you're supposed to have your Social Security. I hope someday I get my Social Security after all the years I've worked since I was 16. Believe it or not, even though I know I can't fill out a job questionnaire or whatever that thing is. Even though I was a partner in my law firm in 4 years when the normal track is 7. But anyway, that's something else. Yeah, Social Security is something that we need to preserve. And I know that there's a lot of discussion about, you know, we need to cut Social Security or change the way it is. I think we need to preserve it. But I also think we need to stop raiding Social Security and taking the money from Social Security to put in other entitlement programs that are not where people are truly not earning that money. Social Security was meant as a retirement plan for the middle class. It's eroding right now. So for me, I would preserve Social Security. I would propose a lot of other cuts in government. We have a tremendous debt. We're at $19.5 trillion. The former Joint Chief said the greatest threat facing the United States is our debt. And if we continue to owe money to China and other foreign entities, we're going to be in serious trouble. So Social Security is not the place where I would take it from because I don't consider it entitlement, but we do need to reconsider what we're doing with our other social welfare programs. Thanks.
Thank you. This question is for Fred Akshar. What is the status of Common Core? Are you going to be able to eliminate it in New York State?
No, I don't think so, quite honestly. I'll be honest with everybody in the room. I was, when I first was running last year, I was a real repeal type guy. I was very vocal about that. But we have been very active in terms of touring our school districts within SD 52. Today we did 3 in Tioga County, and by October 3rd I will have visited every school district in SD 52. And I'm doing that for a specific reason, because I readily admit that education is probably the most difficult discipline for me to get my arms around and completely understand. We spend $25 billion a year in education. I don't profess to understand the foundation aid formula and how it works. I know it's outdated. It needs to be updated. But, you know, look, I'm all for high standards and accountability. I just think that the way Common Core was rolled out was a travesty. This is what happens when you don't have meaningful conversations with stakeholders on the front end of issues, right? So we see this as a perfect example. Bureaucrats decide this is exactly what we're going to do, and it's good for everybody, so we're going to roll it out. And 3 or 4 years later, everybody's saying, holy Christ, we got a major problem on our hands. This isn't working. Well, look, it would make a lot more sense if we would slow down a little bit and we would have those meaningful conversations on the front end and then implement appropriate change. So I don't think that it gets fully repealed. I think the system is reformed over time. But I'm going to echo something that Dorollo said. I, too, am a big local control proponent. I think the people who know best are the teachers, are the parents, are the students, and the administrators. So those are the folks that should be making decisions about our children's education, not some bureaucrat sitting in Albany in a big leather chair. Thank you.
Next question is for Dorollo Nixon. Does New York State need tort reform? If so, what do you propose?
Yeah, so of all the questions you could ask a tort lawyer, I welcome it, though. I welcome it. So, if you look at workers' comp, that system, that needs reform. It's not working the way it should. It's too costly. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's a certain type of healthcare provider. They were just added by a bill this year. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that we ought to rethink that. I don't know all of the specifics of how it would be done, but you know, it's tricky. It's tricky. When you look at specifically what can happen with medical cases, okay, one particular area where there are tort cases, might we be able to arrive at a compromise that would allow either more streamlined recovery by people who were injured and thus had to bring a suit in exchange on the doctor's end for not having to pay the outsized insurance rates? That to me sounds like a good idea, and I base that in part on doctors in my family, and ironically the one I'm referring to is also becoming a lawyer. He's in his last year of law school, and so in his state, not New York, there's actually panels of doctors that are invoked when you have suits for medical malpractice, and so they can actually have experts who understand the medicine look and say, oh, that was reasonable, or oh no, that was stupid, you shouldn't have done that. You know, we don't have that in New York, obviously, and so as a result, in part, we have a very expensive system that enriches some lawyers and not others. So those are my thoughts on tort reform. Thank you.